With Sky's batting again, we discussed this, Michael, in the pre-game show. And I know your name is Sky, but you don't have to hit every one of them in the sky. And he hits them really high. And this one, again, was, I think the hang time was about 18 or 19 seconds or some such. But what would you, I mean, I know that you've said that he has to probably keep playing the way that he's playing. But perhaps on this surface and with the wickets fallen around, maybe just a little bit of criticism to him today?
Yeah, without any question. I mean, it's a few times on the trot where he's been getting out to quite a soft dismissal. I mean, when you say be aggressive all the time, it's choosing the right ball to be aggressive too. Clearly, you can't hit every single ball to the boundary. And some of these players in this era, they've got so much skill and talent that they think they can. It's just not possible. And you're looking at India for them to be the team that we know that they are. They're the world champions for a reason. You need your best players in really good form. And the only way that your best players get into good form is by spending time in the middle. And at the minute, Suryakumar is going out there, he's hitting a few good shots. And then before you've kind of blinked, he's back on his way back to the dugout without making too much of a contribution. So for the team and for him as a captain, if there was ever a time for him to just step back and go from fifth gear to third gear, just to give himself a chance to get in, it's probably now. Because you're not talking about huge numbers. You're not chasing 210, 220. Tonight's target was a very reasonable target just to play sensibly to chase it down. And you look at a lot of the early dismissals, and of course you have to capitalise on the power play. But if you look at a lot of the dismissals, and it's been a common trend now, there's too many consistent dismissals throughout the kind of both teams. And that's when you start to, as a coaching unit, as a leadership group, start looking at the individual players and saying, come on, what can we do about that? Is there anything else that you could do to make sure that doesn't happen again? Because for India to come back, and I'm sure they will, they're not going to play any worse, I can't imagine, in a few days' time, but it will need maybe Sky just saying, okay, I just need to bat 15 balls to get myself in, look at the dimensions of the ground. And you just know once he's in and he's got the use of the conditions, the pace, all the different skill sets that's going to come at him, he's got the game to just go and explode into the boundary hitting mode that we know that he can. So if there was ever a time for him to just step back slightly, it's possibly now.
It's interesting because it's a 170 chase, so it's not astronomical, and then you lose by 26 runs. So that's a very big margin given the 170. And then when you look at the power play, you're saying yes, you're wanting to maximize the power play. You've only got as many as England did, but you've lost 2 wickets more.
Yep.
So, which means that somewhere you look at that power play and say, all right, we were neck and neck in terms of runs, but we obviously took infinite more risks because we've lost 2 extra wickets. So there is something maybe which needs to be recalibrated there in the thinking for the next game.
Well, you look at phase-wise. The first phase is important phase. Yes, you've lost more wickets than you expected or you ideally would have liked. But then after that, the next phase is the 7 to 10 over and then 10 to 15 over. That's the crucial phase. 9 overs, I think you lost the tempo there.
Yeah.
So the tempo which ideally the batter should have maintained right throughout that middle phase, that's the 20-run margin which you're looking at. You have 9 overs to cover 20 runs. Yeah. And if you add those 20 runs, you're chasing last 5 overs, 50 runs.
Yeah.
And that's a different ball game. Then it's equal pressure on the bowlers at that stage to commit those errors. And I think that was the missing link. So I wouldn't go too much looking into the first phase because you got to achieve that right balance of aggressive approach as well in the power play. And that's the most important phase of the game. And there is a risk to reward ratio. So if you're losing 2 wickets, or on average, if you're losing 2 wickets, you're fine. I think 3 is a little too much. So that's the balance you're looking at. But for Indian team, I think the tempo in the middle overs was lost, which they couldn't recover.
Yeah, and we'll just talk about...
Just on Suryakumar, I mean, if I was India, I would want Suryakumar Yadav in at the crease when Adil Rashid comes on. Because he's such a brilliant player at spin, and he could actually hit Adil in his first over or two to put him under pressure. At the minute, Adil Rashid's coming onto ball and Suryakumar's not there. Yeah. He's been getting out deeply to the seam bowlers. So that's why I say if he just steps back a little bit and plays normally against the seamers till around the 7th, 8th over, that's when Adil Rashid comes on. If he's in there, if he's 15, 20 not out by just playing normally, by the time that the spinner comes on, he's got the game and the skill to really challenge Adil Rashid. He's the one right-hander that I would say that Adil Rashid's probably really worried about. But Adil Rashid's always been coming on when Suryakumar sat in the dugout. So it's worth him just playing a little bit patiently just a little bit more through the seamers so he can actually get to Adil Rashid.